Hello viewers. Welcome to Divine Revelation. My name is David, and I share powerful stories of people who have seen the other side. People who have died, entered a coma, or had near-death experiences. If you enjoy these videos, please consider giving us a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you won't miss our new videos. Your support helps us grow, and we truly appreciate it.
My name is Juan. I was a pastor's wife from the Bahamas, and I loved God with all my heart. I stood by my husband in ministry, praying for people, teaching women, and encouraging others to follow Jesus. One day, I was invited to speak at a women's conference. I had prayed, asking God to use me to bless those who would be there. That morning I kissed my husband goodbye, got into my car and began my journey. But I never made it to the conference. On the highway, a large truck lost control and crashed into my car. Something I never expected. I heard the loud impact, felt a sharp pain, and then silence. The next moment I saw something strange. I was floating above my own physical body. My car was wrecked, and I saw people rushing toward it. My lifeless body was inside, but I felt no pain. Then suddenly, a bright light appeared beside me. I turned and saw a mighty angel standing there, clothed in pure white, his face shining. Without speaking, he reached out his hand, and in an instant we were rising, moving beyond the earth, beyond the clouds, into a place more glorious than anything I had ever seen. As we arrived, my eyes widened in awe. Heaven was breathtaking. The streets were pure gold, so clear they looked like glass. Revelation 21 verse 21. There were mansions more beautiful than anything on earth. Joy filled my soul. I wanted to stay there forever. But then the angel turned to me and said, "Come, there is something else you must see." In an instant everything changed. The bright, peaceful place faded, and we were now standing before a vast, dark space. I gasped as I saw fire, flames shooting in all directions, consuming countless souls. The heat was unbearable, and the screams of pain shook me to my core. People cried, pleaded for mercy, but it was too late. I noticed something strange. Most of the souls trapped in the fire were young. Boys and girls from around 12 to 30 years old were stretching out their hands, crying for help that would never come. Their faces were filled with regret, their voices trembling with hopelessness. Some fell to their knees, others covered their faces, but nothing could stop their suffering. Tears filled my eyes. Why are there so many young people here? I asked the angel standing beside me. He answered, "Satan has captured their hearts. He has filled the world with distractions, leading them away from God. Many young people in America and around the world now hate the church and everything about Jesus. They mock the Bible, reject God's love, and follow satanic teachings, thinking they are following their own desires." I looked around and saw something that made my heart break. Familiar faces. These were people I had seen before. Some from my neighborhood, some from church. Some had been my friends. I remembered the warnings they had received, but they ignored them. Now they screamed in terror. They wished for a second chance, but it was too late. The angel revealed to me the reasons why these young people had ended up in this terrible place. Sexual immorality. I saw a young girl sitting in a dark corner, weeping uncontrollably. Her face was filled with regret, but there was no way out. She had spent her life chasing pleasure, ignoring God's warnings. She had lived in sin, indulging in fornication and watching unholy things without guilt. I saw others like her, boys and girls who had laughed at purity, who had said, "It's my life, I can do what I want." But now they wished they had listened. Rebellion against God. A boy stood with his hands over his ears, screaming in torments. He had once been a proud atheist. He had mocked his Christian friends, laughed at preachers, and told his parents that God wasn't real. Now he was crying out, God, please save me. But there was no answer. I saw others like him. Teenagers who had followed false teachings, who had denied God's existence, thinking they were smart. Now they knew the truth, but it was too late. Addiction to worldly pleasures. Another group of teenagers stood together, their eyes filled with horror. They had spent their lives obsessed with fame, money, and pleasure. They had followed celebrities who led them into sin. They had worshipped influencers instead of God. They had wasted hours on social media, filling their minds with lust, pride, and selfishness. Now, everything they chased after was gone, and all that remained was suffering and regrets. I want to assure you they wished to have a second chance to live the way you and I are right now. Disobedience to parents. A young boy fell to his knees, sobbing. I saw memories flashing before him. Memories of his mother begging him to change, of his father warning him to stop his rebellion. But he had refused. He had run away, cursed at his parents, and ignored their advice. Now he wished he could go back and obey, but it was too late. Others around him had similar regrets. They had rejected correction, lived their own way, and now they faced the unending consequences. The angel turned to me. "Look closer," he said. I did, and what I saw made me tremble. The young people were trapped in a place of darkness, fear, and suffering. Some reached out their hands as if begging for help, but there was none. Some cried for another chance, but none was given. They remembered the times they had been told the truth but ignored it. Now regret filled their hearts, but it could not save them. One girl looked at me directly. Her face was filled with pain. "Warn them," she cried. "Tell them not to come here. Tell them to listen before it's too late." At that moment, I felt her pain with compassion of a mother. It touched me more looking at children been trapped in everlasting torments. I wanted to run back and tell everyone what I had seen, but is not within my capacity to decide. The angel's words echoed in my mind as I stood beside him, watching the scenes unfold. The world around us was filled with a thick darkness, but there was a flicker of light that surrounded the angel, making him stand out like a bright beacon. I could hear the angel's voice as though it was coming from everywhere. "The rebellion among the younger generation is growing fast," he said. His eyes locked on me. Parents must change how they raise their children. They must stop following the ways of the world and return to biblical parenting. I felt the urgency in his words. It wasn't just a casual suggestion. It was a warning. The angel pointed to a scene where parents were distracted, looking at their phones, while their children were glued to screens, surrounded by video games, social media, and the voices of people who didn't care about their well-being. It was like they were being pulled away from what truly mattered. "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it," the angel said, quoting Proverbs 22 verse 6. His voice softened for a moment. But many parents today are allowing the internet, celebrities, and a world that rejects God to raise their children. This must change. I wanted to cry out to the world, to every parent, to wake up before it was too late. I could feel a deep sorrow in my heart, thinking about the children who were being lost to the lies of the world. I could hear their cries in my mind, but no one seemed to hear. As the angel continued speaking, I saw families in turmoil. Parents fighting with their children, children ignoring their parents. The bond between them seemed to be breaking, and the world was only making it worse. The angel's voice grew stronger. "The time is short," he said. "If parents do not return to God, many more young souls will be lost forever." I wanted to warn everyone. I wanted to tell every young person to turn away from the distractions that pulled them away from God. To stop wasting their time on things that didn't matter. To wake up before it was too late. But my words felt like they would never reach anyone. No repentance after death. The angel said. We continued walking through the darkness, and soon I found myself in a place that I can hardly describe. It was a terrible, painful place, filled with burning fire and wailing cries. I felt a cold shiver run down my spine as I saw souls, lost souls, struggling in the flames. They reached out, their faces twisted in pain and regret. They were hopeless, crying out for help, but there was no one to listen. I felt a deep ache in my heart for them. The angel turned to me and shook his head. His face was full of sorrow, and I could see the sadness in his eyes. There is no repentance in death, the angel said gently. As it is written, it is appointed unto man once to die, and after this, judgment. Hebrews 9 verse 27. The words pained my heart. I realized the horrible truth. These souls would never get another chance. They had ignored God while they were on earth, and now it was too late. Their time had run out, and there was no way for them to change their fate. I watched as the souls in the fire screamed, their cries echoing in the distance. I could see their faces, full of regret, but it was too late. They had wasted their time, chasing after things that didn't matter, things that could never save them. My heart was broken as I realized that these young souls would never know the peace that comes from knowing God. Their lives had been filled with distractions, things that led them down the wrong path. And now they were lost forever. I turned to the angel, desperate for answers. Why did they have to end up here? I asked. Wasn't there any way for them to turn back? The angel's voice was heavy with sorrow. They had their chance, but they chose to follow the world instead of following God. And now they are lost, with no way to return. The weight of those words hung over me like a cloud. I knew the truth now. It wasn't just about living a good life. It was about making the right choices while there was still time. It was about turning back to God before it was too late. I wished I could tell everyone, especially the young people, not to waste their time. I wanted them to understand the importance of choosing God before it was too late for them. But the message was clear. If we don't change, if we don't listen to the warnings, we may find ourselves in a place where there is no second chance. And so, I stood there, my heart heavy with the truth, knowing that the time to make a choice was now. The scene faded, the angel stated fading away. I felt a force pulling me back to my physical body. As I tried to open my eyes, I was lying in a hospital bed. Doctors and nurses surrounded me, and my husband was weeping as he prayed beside me. I had been unconscious for 3 hours, but by God's mercy, I had returned. Tears streamed down my face as I whispered, I have seen eternity. From that day forward, I dedicated my life to warning young people, parents, and everyone who would listen. Heaven is real and so is hell. And I assure you that you don't want to go to hell. There is no time to waste. We must choose Christ now before it is too late. May God bless you.